Hey, how's it going? So, I thought it'd be good to come on and do some more Games Workshop content. Some more story content, Games Workshop stories. Some of these stories today happened in a Games Workshop, some of them happened in the hobby store that I worked at. Um, I had a message today asking me to reveal the Games Workshop that I worked at. I will never do that. That is a absolute beyond the pale shitty thing to do. No, because I still have friends who work at Games Workshop. I still have friends who go to these Games Workshop stores. I don't want it becoming a thing where if someone lives nearby, then they walk in and say, "Oh, hey, there's this YouTube channel. That's blah blah blah." I don't want that. That'd be really really shitty. I mean, if you guys know, have been able to infer where the stores were, then feel free to go in and name drop me. That's fine. But aside from that, whatever. I don't want to bring any attention to people who haven't asked for it. Essentially. So I wanted to get in today about mums that don't know boundaries very well. See, this is the thing that goes on in many retail spaces and many, especially if you're looking to the service industry. A lot of people tend to talk about bar work, right? And that women tend to get a lot of inappropriate stares and looks and touches when they're in bars. I worked in bars, personally never seen it happen, but I doesn't mean I don't agree, right? It must do, there's no smoke without fire. What I can tell you is, as working in a hobby store, it didn't really happen a lot, because you were generally, you didn't have the same gravitas as somebody wearing a Games Workshop t-shirt does, right? You're just a guy from the hobby store, essentially. So mums would generally go and they always preferred doing their shopping at a Games Workshop store. I don't know why. I think it's because they don't have very much experience, so they just go straight for the one that's going to give them the less hassle. That's not full of neckbeards. And the Games Workshops are very rarely full of neckbeards. I will get into one comedy story later on, though, about somebody farting in the Games Workshop store that really fucking pissed me off. Anyway, but I was a customer at that time. I wasn't even a staff member. So, right. So, mums in Games Workshop. It depends on. I've had flirty mums. Everybody's had flirty mums. Okay, I've had mums who you get a twinkle in the eye off, right? Who you think, oh, you walk away thinking, fucking hell, she was a bit up for it. She was not being suggestive, but you could just tell. Like, she would lean in, she would play with her hair, do all the things that women usually do when they're interested. One thing that I always found was new mums. So you get mums who are like 28 to 45, maybe even older. When they've got kids who are in school and they've come to an after-school club or something at the store, when they pick up their kids, that's when you normally got some of the inappropriate comments. Now, what I mean by that is when I was working at Games Workshop, I started working out. I got a girlfriend, so I was like, oh, shit, and I was looking a bit podgy. I was like, I'm not having this. My girlfriend's really hot. I'm not going to be walking next to her looking like, people going, what the fuck is she doing with him, So I was like, right. And then I go to the gym. I'm going to get myself sorted out. So I went to the gym after work, start working out, start doing loads of cardio, start doing loads of weights. And I started, getting pretty trim and looking pretty good. You will not believe the amount of touching that goes on from mums when you're working at Games Workshop. What I mean by that is they're going, oh, you're so funny, right? And there's one woman, I'm going to call her Jeanine. Let's just call her Jeanine. I'm not going to call her Karen because she wasn't. She was really cool. But she was definitely, you could tell that she was one of those mums that all of this kid's friends fancied. They all, because he was like 13. And when she's talking to me and one of the other lads there, her son just started rolling his eyes as he was playing his game. It's just like she's doing it again, sort of a thing. Just a natural flirt, right? And then I've got my arms folded, and I'm just like, yeah, just talking and having a good time, talking about how well the son's doing at the game. He's playing Eldar at that point, which was he's doing very very well with his Wraith Knight that he bought. So she says, oh, I think I made a quip about prices at Games Workshop, which I never normally do unless the manager's not there, and he wasn't there this time. So I made a little quip about, it was about her going away to another store because it was cheaper. And I was like, well, we give other things in the service here apart from, we look after people. And he goes, oh, you're so funny. And reaches out and squeezes my bicep twice, right? As I have my arms folded. And I'm just like, yeah. And I look over to James, as we've noted, the other staff member at the Games Workshop used to look at. And he's stocking Eldar that have just been bought, because obviously the kid's been in store, that have just been bought. And he's looking over me over his shoulder, and he's just smiling. Just like, and he's still stocking. That's the thing that set me off. He didn't stop stocking. He was able to keep stocking as he was looking at me and smiling and like nodding. And it just set me off. I just went bright red and started giggling. She's like, what's wrong? I said, no, it's just really, really funny. Like, that your son's winning. He never wins, that sort of thing. And his son was like, yeah, I do. Blah, blah, and I thank fuck he saved me from that situation. But let's just do a role reversal here, right? I'm a female staff member at Games Workshop. And a dad has come in who's pretty handsome, pretty good looking. He comes in, and exactly the same transaction has happened. Verbal transaction has happened, right? Interaction, sorry, not transaction. They're not buying anything. And he reaches out and squeezes. So a bicep to a man is like a woman likes a bicep. You know what I mean? So she reaches out and squeezes the bicep. So this needs to be something that a man likes. So he reaches out and squeezes like a hip or something, or not a boob because that's like actually sexual assault, but like a hip or like or he just rubs her arm really gently, right? That sort of a thing. That guy wouldn't have a leg to stand on, would he? Right? That guy would be turfed out of there quicker than you can say, dad who doesn't know his boundaries, right? Now, it's not the same. As a man in Games Workshop, you're required to put up with this shit, essentially. In fact, when I told my manager about it, when he came back from his holiday, he just laughed. He was like, well, did you get a number, sort of a thing? And I was like, no, I didn't, because obviously I've got a girlfriend. I would have, if I didn't have a girlfriend, but there you go. I was just, no, I didn't. And it was only me who was thinking, actually, that was like an unwanted advance. I didn't want her to do that, right? It didn't bother me at all. But the hypocrisy bothers me. The hypocrisy does bother me. That and when we'd get it all the time. Like, I'd get inappropriate comments about, how tight my shirt was. I'd get comments about if I wore shorts. I've literally had a mum say, oh, look at you've been working out. Like, just looking down at the legs of the shorts, like, okay, fine. Yeah, but what does that... I'm trying to sell you some models, right? I'm not trying to fucking... Yeah. So, one thing I wanted to ask everybody in the comments is, have you ever had this sort of a situation at your work? Especially if you worked in retail, especially if you've been around Games Workshop, have you ever had any of these moments happen to you? Even if you're working in game or whatever, anything related, let me know if it's happened to you in the past. Male or female. Because some of the mums that we dealt with just did not know their boundaries at all. And we had one mum turn up in a tube top almost. Tits just jiggling. And she was a runner. She'd go on runs. She still had yoga pants on, like really tight, and boots. And she walked in and would always just lean over tables and stuff. And I'm just like, there are kids here. There are people in Games Workshop who don't want to see your massive tits. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine by me. Like, if I'm the only one in the store, fine. But, like, there are boundaries here. Like, we can't, and I'm not allowed... you are allowed to shag mums. There's nothing that says you can't. Don't sound clip me, right, please. There's going to be an album out there somewhere that's going to be sent to YouTube at some point, me saying these horrendous things without context. But no, there's nothing in the rules that says you can't go out with your mums. In fact... the manager that I was under, basically, he would have a go at me for, like, because I would flirt back sometimes. If I was just in a good mood and a mum flirted with me, I'd be like, sod it, and I'd just flirt back with her. There's one woman who was like 68, whatever she was. So clearly, nothing's going to happen. But she had a bit of a twinkle and she'd have a bit of a flirt. So I was like, bollocks to it. I'm going to make her day. So I just start flirting back with her. It's like, yeah, just little things, Bet you're the talk of the town, though, aren't you? When you walk out of here with a load of models and stuff like that, just little things. And he was just like, yeah, you shouldn't do that, with customers. And I was like, hang on a minute, mate. Remind me who your wife is again. You know what I mean? He literally met his wife at Games Workshop as a customer. Yeah. Imagine your mum going into Games Workshop and then a manager moves into your house. Right? Literally moves into your house. Fucking nightmare. But anyway, so it does happen. It does happen more than you would think. It just... It's a bit crazy. It never happened to me in a normal hobby store. And again, the only thing I can put that down to is the fact that maybe there's a bit more gravitas with the official Games Workshop being a massive corporation angle. And it's like, well, this guy, you know... And also the thing that I think really helped was that people associate kids going to Games Workshop more than they do to local game stores. So... what you're doing as a Games Workshop employee, or even better as a manager, because it's happened a lot as a manager, well, it's that you're proving that you can handle kids. You're proving that you can handle and entertain kids, and that you keep their kids happy. That is a really attractive thing to a mother, especially if they're single, right? They're going to be like, oh, this, you know, especially if you're not bad looking and she's single. You are now top of her hit list, my friend. Like, if she comes in and her kid's having a really good time, we had a disabled kid who would come in, and obviously not that many friends in the store that I was managing. And whenever he came in, he would. I think I mentioned the other lad who came in. He never spoke. The other lad never spoke. Yeah. Well, this is the other side of that equation. This is the disabled lad who we ended up being friends with, and he would come in and he would just, you know, take this guy through his paces, you know, gaming and translating for him almost, because the other guy couldn't speak, you know. And he really made a load of friends. And like when his mum came in, lovely little blonde thing. When his mum came in, we just saw that and we're just like, oh my god, how's he been? How's he been? And I'm like, yeah, he's been fine. He's been fine. I'm talking, and I'm standing behind the till, you know, with my hand on the till, and you know, the finger goes into the hair and starts curling it around, and I'm thinking, here we go. You know, I've still got a girlfriend at this point. You know, I'm just like, okay, you know. And you do get numbers. It does happen. You know, it does happen, especially when you're in Games Workshop. Only happened to me once, and it wasn't on that occasion. But she did give it to me a few weeks later on, and I had to... in fact, the girlfriend I was seeing at the time was really, really cool, because I showed her the phone number just as a laugh. I was like, yeah, I got this phone number at work. And she just started giggling. She said, oh, well, that's good. You know, it's a compliment to me, really. And I was like, what do you mean? She said, well, I'm with you. I was like, oh, that's nice. You know, so... Not everything about working at Games Workshop is bad, because in general, you know, you're in a position of power. You're there running a store. You're there taking care of people's kids when you shouldn't have to be anyway. But you know, you are a lot of the time, and it does happen. And some mums aren't very good with boundaries. Again, they will slip in and out of those as the case comes and goes. I did nearly get into trouble once. There was a mother who was like around 38, 39, obviously professional, you know, a lawyer or something, and you know, good-looking woman. She'd come in, you know, we'd talk, and then a week later we'd talk, you know, we'd go again and again and again. The lad wasn't very well behaved in school, but he's very well behaved in Games Workshop. And when she asked me why I thought that was, and I was like, well, I try to treat him as like a peer, like an equal. And I think being disappointed is more helpful than being angry, right? Especially if you can get a kid on side, being disappointed in them works a lot better than just shouting at them. You know, they are much more afraid of you being disappointed in them, you know, and being really let down and hurt. And she was, oh yeah, that's really really awesome. Yeah, that's really really cool. And we would get talking, and all I can say is that there's an energy there. Like, you just got to get talking to someone, and I'm thinking, bloody hell, like, you know, this could, I don't know, like, a bit weird, but like, yeah, okay, fine. And anyway, she's leaving one day, and the kid's leaving, and we're at the door, and I'm locking up. Like, they're literally the last people to leave on a Thursday night. I'm locking up, and as I turn to leave, she like grabs my arm, says, "Look, really, thank you so much for that. You're really taking him on. He's doing really well, and thank you so much." I'm like, okay, brilliant. And her thumb is rubbing my arm as she's doing this, right? The grabbing of the arm, fine. Whenever, you know, and I said, you know, are you okay? You know, is everything fine? She goes, yeah, he's just doing, like, not that well at school, but, like, it's really nice to see him go here, and it's brilliant. And she had, like, you know, she's a bit tearing up a little bit. And I said, look, okay, fair enough. And she just sort of stepped in and was just, like, her head was down. So I just, like, you know, rubbed her back sort of a thing, like an awkward hug. And then she put her arm around me and then just, like, rubbed. And I was like, okay, that's not good. When a woman puts her arm around you, like, and she's, like, hugging you, If she pats you, that's platonic, right? If it's there and she's like giving it a slow rub, that's okay. That's now. So I was like, okay, cool. Right, I'll let you go, and have a nice evening and blah blah. So I walked off and I was like, oh shit, This is after me and my girlfriend broke up, by the way. This is like a few months later. Yeah, not a sleazeball. So like I go to get the train and then I come back a few days later, and this kid's dad comes and picks him up, right? Nothing is said, because nothing happened, right? Nothing is said. And then she turns up, like his mum turns up, and looks really awkward and is like standing around, isn't really speaking to me. And I'm thinking, oh, they're still together, right? Again, this is why you need to be careful. Because there are many mums out there, if you're working at Games Workshop, will see you as an option. And you shouldn't be an option. You should be number one. Number one. You should be number one. You should be the number one priority. Have faith in yourself. You are the prize, all right? You are the prize. But number two, that could have escalated into something very, very, very awkward if something had happened and I made the right call of stepping back and just saying goodnight, So, again, and I was only at Games Workshop for 3.5 years. I wasn't there for that long, right? And this would happen every couple of months. You'd get either a flirty comment or something would happen, right? Something would not happen as in you go out with them, but something would, So the story that I wanted to get into, the bonus story for today, is about hygiene, because we went over it the other week. And I swear to fucking God, so I'm at a Games Workshop. I'm at Games Workshop Liverpool, actually, because I wasn't working there or doing anything. Yeah, I was a customer. And, this is just before I started working at Games Workshop. And I was getting the ambience, and I was getting things, it's really, really cool. And there was a little event going on that day, mainly for beginners and things like that. And the staff members in there and no manager, which is why there's an event going on. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm there, and I'm taking part. It's a 500 points event, and it's great. There is a guy standing a couple of rows down on one of the tables. Pants almost round his arse, very overweight, smells, whole 9 yards. He's playing a Death Guard army and a load of like Nurgle demons. He farts a lot. And he precedes every fart with, prepare for Nurgle's blessing, and then he farts really loudly. The first time was, okay, forcing it, yeah. The fifth time, I started putting my knuckles on the table and grinding them, because I was like, I'm going to take this guy and throw him through the fucking window. I can't do this. I cannot do this. If you're one of those people, don't go to fucking hobby stores and spoil it for everybody else. You smelly, smelly bastard. Take your models, go home, and get a shower and come back. And stop farting. It's rude. I'm sorry. You're not 4. You're not 4 years of age. Right? This is a cool hobby. We're all having a good time. No need. Absolutely no need. Right? Especially, you don't want those kinds of behaviours happening in the store. Especially, I knew that if the manager was there, there's no way this twat would have done that. There's no way he would have done that. But anyway, have you ever had any experiences like that? Because I think I posted this on a fucking message board years ago, that story. But no one ever got back to me, so it's nice to finally say the story so people get to hear it and talk about it. Have you guys ever had anything like that? If so, whack it in the comments below. Have you worked in retail as a male or female, or in a business, any sort of business, and had sort of inappropriate advances? I will tell you now. When I was working as a private tutor, after I finished a Games Workshop, I became a private tutor before I became a teacher to train basically. And when you would go around to houses, there were some mums that would sit next to you and almost on you, sort of a thing, whilst they're looking over the kids' work with you, that sort of a thing. So let me know if you've had any of those experiences at work. I certainly have. Very awkward. And I will speak to you next time. Have a good one. There will be a Warhammer Old World video this weekend. We're talking about magic this time around. And there will be the Emperor's Children 40k lore will be on the way too. And I'm currently working on the lore for the Iron Talons, and that'll be getting done pretty soon. And there will be, this Sunday, or Monday, depending, there will be a showcase video of all the Discord models that we've got on the channel. Can't wait for that. But I'll speak to you next time, and have a good one, guys. And have a good weekend. If I don't speak to you before then. See you later.